Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the 10 hardest 3D platformers of all time. Now, for this list, we are focusing on 3D platformers that are hard due to challenging mechanics, levels, gameplay systems, and/or a steep learning curve. These are not games that are considered hard due to being bad or broken, in the case of something like Bubsy 3D. Now, with all that said, let's double jump into our list. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Psychonauts. Psychonauts has become a cult classic over the years, a game that was mostly well received at the time, but didn't garner all that much fanfare. Fortunately, time has been kind to this game, even if it's a less than perfect experience. Stepping into the psychic shoes of Raz, you must hone your budding skills as you explore various minds, uncovering the mental struggles and battles of various characters. Psychonauts is interesting because it blends aspects of 3D platforming and adventure game tendencies, but sorta struggles to always toe the line nicely. The game's challenge lies in how tricky some of its platforming sections can be, often confusing players with some labyrinthian pathing. But it's really the game's final section, the Meat Circus, where the challenge level skyrockets through the roof, totally upending the more or less average skill level required earlier on in the game, as you contend with Raz's psychic powers. Banjo-Tooie. Alright, many might scoff at the idea of Banjo-Tooie being a hard 3D platformer, but if we are honest with ourselves, this game, while amazing, can be downright brutal at times. Banjo-Tooie opens up the experience quite a bit here, with lots of expansive areas, interconnected layouts, access by traversal or the train, and tons of backtracking. All of these aspects do make the game feel much bigger than Banjo-Kazooie, but they certainly increase the challenge level overall. While it would be easy to just blame much of the challenge on the wonky 3D camera, even for its time, Banjo-Tooie manages to challenge 3D platforming fans with some tough platforming sections, punishing bosses, and myriad collectibles and objectives that aren't always easy to understand or contend with. It's a fantastic game, but it's a much harder game than Banjo-Kazooie. Pac-Man World 2. Who the heck would have thought that a Pac-Man 3D platformer would be tough as nails? Well, where the first game was mostly a breeze, with some challenging sections interspersed, the sequel really manages to ratchet up the difficulty with some truly brutal levels, inconsistent platforming maneuvers and sections, random difficulty spikes, and some outlandishly tough boss battles. It's an uber-charming Pac-Man game to be sure, however it doesn't ease up on being incredibly hard. Knowing when to jump, slam down, flutter, or roll is never really obvious, made even more punishing by the lack of depth perception due to the somewhat isometric view here. Oh, and if you want to collect every pellet and piece of fruit and other collectibles, then you are going to need to be a master platformer. Maximo Goes to Glory. If any of you remember Ghosts and Goblins from back in the day, then you likely remember how brutal that 2D Capcom platformer was. Well, Maximo Goes to Glory takes much of that DNA from that game and its various iterations and spin-offs and thrusts all of it into a tough as coffin nails 3D action platformer. Much like in Ghosts and Goblins, whenever you take a hit in the game, a piece of armor falls off, basically acting as the game's intuitive life bar. The game has myriad punishing enemies that relentlessly attack the player, a save and continue system that really isn't your friend at all, tricky platforming areas that aren't always clear, and just simply the fact that death can come around every single corner, even by surprise. Now, it's a blast to play, don't get us wrong, especially if you are a fan of old school arcade style games, but don't at all expect this game to hold your hand. Snake Pass. Now, we admit we might be cheating a little bit here calling Snake Pass a true 3D platformer, since there's not actually any technical platforming, at least in the way of jumping and bounding around 3D spaces. However, for our money, we consider this 3D platforming adjacent game so unique and challenging that it definitely deserves a place on this list. The premise of Snake Pass is that you might guide your slinky, slippery snake around creative puzzle-laden playgrounds, finding collectibles and making your way to the goal. But getting there is a whole different story. Since you can't jump or move in traditional ways like other 3D platformers, you must utilize the environment and objects and your bird friend in order to curl up and around areas to achieve your snaky goals. It's an uber fun but uber punishing game at times, even with its colorful and adorable visuals and whimsical music. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Surprise, surprise, another 3D rare platformer on our list. Yep, Conker's Bad Fur Day is not an easy game. While it is more fondly remembered for its raunchy humor and sarcastic tone, many players are equally aware that it's a tough game to venture through. The plethora of platforming sections alone are enough to make you pull your hair out. Your jumps as Conker often need to be pixel perfect in order to not fall to your demise, especially with the strict fall damage and general lack of health pickups, or so it seems. While the wonky camera doesn't always lend a helping hand, I mean even if it did, the game has so many punishing areas and bosses that your platforming skills will definitely be tested. Rayman 2: The Great Escape. Gameplay diversity is king when it comes to 3D platformers, or heck, just video games in general. The Rayman series has generally done a phenomenal job with mixing up gameplay to keep things fresh throughout. Nowhere is this more apparent than 1999's The Great Escape. From traditional 3D platforming to vehicle sections to puzzle solving to on-rail areas, Rayman 2 is a textbook case of varied gameplay challenges. However, it's in these varied sections where the challenge often lies. Just when you start getting comfortable with one aspect of controlling Rayman, the game throws a new challenge your way. Now, it's an utter blast to play, even with a goofy camera and some rough first-person points of view at certain intervals, but you'll have your work cut out for you here. Sometimes just replaying a level will be the optimal way to fully learn Rayman's moves, while learning the layouts of the game's many creative stages. Super Mario Sunshine. Good golly, Flood, you really made Super Mario Sunshine a beast of a game to contend with. Now, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, Sunshine graced Mario with a unique tool known as FLUDD, F-L-U-D-D, Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dowsing Device. You know, that standard thing we all are used to using in 3D platformers. Okay, sarcasm aside, most of this game's challenge level comes from utilizing FLUDD successfully across the game's many tropical stages. Then, once you do finally, sort of, get used to using FLUDD successfully, the game rips it away from you, which makes those 3D platforming sections and levels feel sorta out of left field. Now, don't get us wrong, we love Super Mario Sunshine here, but my goodness, this 3D Mario game is much tougher than any other one out there. Can we please get a mop to clean up around here? Please and thank you. Donkey Kong 64. Good things come in threes, right? Well, here we are again with yet another downright brutal 3D rare platformer, this time in the form of Donkey Kong 64. Let's just get the obvious out of the way right up front. DK64 is mostly considered a hard game because of the staggering, and we do mean staggering, number of unique collectibles that must be hoovered up by the different Kongs at different times in the game. Yes, it makes for great replayability in addition to learning the game's fun levels, but let's not mince words here. There are enough collectibles in this game to make it to the moon and back, and maybe back again. Add in the awkward controls, even for the time, the need to keep track of each Kong's unique moves, and the lack of a map to keep you on track, and you have the recipe for a super hard, yet still utterly enjoyable 3D platformer. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Okay, we could probably feature any Crash Bandicoot title in this list, and it would conjure up painful memories for many players, trying and failing to make it through the series' tough-as-nails platforming sections. However, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, is easily the hardest of the bunch in our eyes. It's like this game was designed with some sort of arcade sensibilities, ensuring you have to constantly die and repeat in order to just make it through each stage. The game is super polished and highly fun to play, but it will often make you pull your hair out in frustration, even more so than the OG PS1 games. Memorization and pattern recognition need to be swift friends if you hope to make it through this downright brutal 3D platformer, especially if you hope to obtain all the gems, relics, and crates. Yeah, good luck indeed. So, do you agree with our picks for this list? What are some of the hardest 3D platforming games you have played? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video from MojoPlays. Be sure to subscribe for more gaming videos every single day.